So in this video, we're going to be talking about CPU, GPU, and then both. All to help you realize if the current laptop you're using is the best one for your personnel, or and help you make the best purchase when it comes to the next laptop that you'll be acquiring. Let's get right into it. So CPU, Central Processing Units. Now, I'm not here to lecture you about what CPU really does, but just to get right to the point as regards the kind of CPU that you should look out for, or the one that you should be using actually currently. If you are a lightweight user, if you're like just a creator that mostly writes and reads, surf the internet, or you're a student that does just about that, or you are a lecturer, a tutor, or something similar, and all you basically need your laptop for is the barest minimum, the basic tasks. You do not need to look out for more than just the CPU in the laptop you're using or the one you want to achieve or acquire. Now, where it might get a little bit finicky is the kind of CPU that will be the best for you. Now, if you are a lightweight user, you're not particularly looking out for CPU that can consume the most power to give the most utmost robust performance. You're looking for CPUs that will consume the least power and then not just consume the least power as regards the power draw that they will take from the power unit supply to your house, but also the least power when it comes to the power that they will use from the battery, like the saved power that your laptop battery would have when it comes to them, performing the everyday tasks that you would want to put them through. So typically, the kind of CPU that you should be using or looking at for when you want to make your next purchase should end in U. Now, I'm talking with the idea that you're buying a laptop that is based on Intel. Now, I will try to put on the screen while editing this video the equivalent when it comes to AMD Ryzen CPUs. But if you're using an Intel CPU, you want it to end in U, which basically stands for undervolting. Overall in layman terms, that means it doesn't consume much power. That's what you need. The other parts that you would need to look out for when it comes to the CPU, if you're not looking at changing your device every 1 year or 2 years, you want to try and make sure that you are a bit on the higher side of things, even though for someone like you, a CPU that is from, like, let's say the 8th generation and at least i5 should work just fine. I would recommend i7 13th generation if you're looking at being able to keep using a laptop from, like, let's say now 2026 to 2027 without 2027 is too close. Let's say 2026 to 2030 without any itches, right? Because i7 13th generation, muy caliente. It will be just fine, really. It will be just fine for all of the stuff that I listed earlier that might be what interests you most when it comes to everyday tasks on a laptop. So GPU, graphics processing units. Now, that means you're not just an everyday casual user. That means you are quite curious. I'm going to break the GPU aspect when it comes to those who need it into those who are curious and those who are heavy users. Now, if you're quite curious, that means you want to dabble with more than just surfing the internet. You want to dabble with more than just reading and writing. Every now and then you see a design that you like to replicate and you want to create thumbnails for yourself, or you want to do some light editing of images and stuff like that. Then when you're getting the laptop, you want to see that it has at least a relatively strong integrated GPU or a dedicated GPU. GPU being graphics processing unit, just in case you don't know. Did I say that earlier? Anyways, you want to try and make sure that it has a GPU that you can hold and then hold on to its words consequently or something like that. Now, for Intel, if you're going to be buying a laptop that has integrated GPU and not dedicated GPU, you want to at least go for something that has Intel Iris SE, not the UHD series, right? For AMD integrated graphics, you want to at least go for Vega 8. Now, that part could be really tricky if you're buying an AMD, a laptop that is using an AMD integrated graphics. That means also using the CPU by AMD because they tend not to specifically spill it out, especially when you're not buying it new. So you have to do a whole lot more research about the laptop to figure out if it's using Vega 8 integrated graphics, which will leave you with at least 412 MB of memory, and I think it goes up to 2 gigabytes of integrated graphics memory. Now, the thing about it is, if you're just curious as a user, you could get away with that. But if you are a heavy user, you can't get away with an integrated GPU. You would need a dedicated GPU. That's where the likes of NVIDIA start coming into play. Now we could try to make do with something like a dedicated graphics by AMD, but they don't make the best when it comes to that for laptops, but they're really good on the desktop end. Now, I'm assuming you are a laptop user, so it's best to go for Nvidia. Now, if it's entry level kind of graphics work that you need, let's say you are a student that is beginning to do CAD kind of designs, right? Engineering, final year, you have your projects to undo, and your laptop needs to be capable of running some of these engineering designs and all of that. You don't necessarily need to go overboard when it comes to budget. You can, if you're really lean and tight on budget, you can go for some ZBook workstations that run on NVIDIA Code rules that are quite outdated at this point. But if you're not lean on budget and you're looking at running LLMs on the long run and stuff like that, you want to look out for a dedicated graphics that is more recent. But now this a part that I would like you to take a very good note of. You need to make sure that you're not going for the generic RTS series. By generic, I'm not trying to downplay the power of those set of dedicated graphics card, right? You want to go for the ADAS, because those are the ones really geared towards language learning models, right? You want to go for I'll try to put that on screen, bro. I'm not remembering off the top of my head right now. But you do not want to go for the RTS. If you are into engineering designs and let's say you're into the language learning models, you do not want to go for the RTS 20 series, 50 series. You do not want to go for those. Now, if you are a gamer or you are a core creator that needs to edit on the fly, you need your Photoshop to run most seamlessly, you need your Adobe Media Encoder, you need your Adobe Premiere Pro and all of that to run at the best option possible, and you are live streaming, so you need your OBS Studio to run seamlessly. You want to game at the same time on it, you need the RTS 20 series upwards, right? If you're lean on budget, do at least the 20 series. If you are not lean on budget, do the 50 series, okay? Do the 40 series at least. The reason why I won't say do the 10 series even when you're lean on budget is there is no RTS with the 10 series, right? That limits you to some tech that I would say is even old as at now, like let's say DLSS 1, I think. Does that even exist? DLSS 2 and the rest, right? That's deep learning super sampling, right? You want to make sure that you have at least the 20 series wherein the RTS series begins. But if you find yourself not being able to get beyond the 10 series, make sure you are doing something like 1650 Ti. Make sure it has Ti by the end. You will realize later when you start using it why I'm making sure that that's what you get at the very least. So basically, a quick recap on that is, if you're just a curious user, you might get away with integrated graphics on the laptop. If you are a heavy user, dedicated, you need a dedicated graphics. If you are dedicated to, I really want to do this and all of that, but if you are just into, I want to be able to do this beyond just the basic things, you might get away with the integrated graphics. And you should know, I think this goes without saying, but to put it more into perspective, because some people, it won't eat them until they hear it. You can do with a laptop that does not have GPU, but you cannot do it with a laptop that does not have CPU. Well, you can never find a laptop that does not have CPU, but I say that to make you realize that CPU is very integral. Now, when you're being very particular about your GPU, you can't look away as regards the CPU. I think that reminds me of a part that I had not touched. If you're going to be buying a dedicated gaming laptop, don't let somebody undersell. Um, don't let somebody oversell something to you. Don't look beyond the CPU in some very core ways. Make sure that CPU ends with H or HS, because if you end up using a CPU that probably ends with U, and that will be a word configuration, a supposedly heavy gaming graphics card in it, but then it ends with you, the CPU, you would end up with a beast that runs with a tamed um what's the word now, a tamed horse. So let's say you have an Austin that is trying to walk your lion for you, or leopard, if that makes sense. So your basically your graphics card will be running down faster than your CPU, and your CPU will be holding your graphics card backwards. I think I'm rambling at this point, but overall, that's the thing. Casual user, you need your CPU. Curious user, you need your CPU to have at least integrated graphics or have a basic dedicated graphics. Dedicated user, you need dedicated graphics. And if you're a casual user, or sometimes you go hard, you need both. That's where you come in. You need to make sure that you get a laptop that has at least 99 watt hour battery. That's what I would recommend, but that might be hard for you to find these days. But I think you should not go below the threshold of 80 plus watt hour battery, so that at the end of the day, when you are not heavily using your laptop, you're able to get a long lifetime of battery usage from it, right? Like the lifetime it will spend and the sessions it will spend being on for you to use. And the way to do that without particularly looking out for the CPU carrying, or some undervolting specs, or the GPU, or the GPU having, let's say, mask Q at the end of it, which makes sure that the GPU does not draw too much power when it runs in its optimal performance, would be try to make sure that the laptop you're getting has an hybrid mode. That is, in moments wherein it realizes that most of the work you're doing are basic tasks that do not require more than your CPU, it will literally just switch off your GPU. That way, it's able to last longer on battery. And then in cases wherein it realizes, oh, it's time to go hard, then it turns your GPU back on, and then you can just lock in. And also, it also leaves you with this option of locking in both your GPU to be what would work even when you're doing basic tasks and when you're not. You would also have that option. So if you are a casual user that goes hard every now and then based on your work profile, you need both. You need a very good CPU and a very good GPU, and then you need to make sure that the laptop you're getting has hybrid mode. And that's it for this video. I hope I've been able to help you realize if the laptop you're using is really the one for you, and help you make sure that the next one you're getting is definitely the one for you. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.